All right, it's no secret that the tech job market right now sucks. Nobody's hiring, companies are laying people off, and on top of everything, AI is turning everything on its head. And allegedly, it's replacing workers at eye-watering rates. And I wouldn't blame you for feeling discouraged towards this market or even to think that it's dead. Now, in my opinion, tech careers aren't dead, but they are changing. Those things do ring true to some degree. Hiring is still down, layoffs are still up, and nobody seems to know which direction things are going to go next. So in this video, I'm going to try to help you out just a little bit on how to actually build a tech career in the age of AI. Whether you're a student in high school or college, or a recent graduate trying to find your first job, or an early career professional looking to take that next step. But first, we do have to address the panic around AI. The current narrative is that AI is going to replace all of software engineering, and then it's going to come for the analysts and the scientists, and then the marketers and the accountants, and then before you know it, any job done on a computer will be fully automated and replaced. I clearly disagree with this idea. I think that AI will instead become a ubiquitous tool used in all areas of knowledge work, but I don't think that it's going to kill knowledge work. Currently, in most cases, AI is not replacing experienced professionals. It is replacing the repetitive tasks that those professionals used to waste time doing, and dangerously, it's replacing a lot of work that early career professionals used to do to get important experience. If you learn how to use AI, you will get more done faster, and your rate of learning is going to skyrocket. And pretty importantly, it will help you get past that entry barrier skill level that we all have to start with as early career professionals. Something to add though, try not to fall into the trap of vibe coding. I know, this is tough, especially starting out because it's just so effective at doing the easy things that should be teaching moments for you early on. And I know that I'm probably the millionth person to tell you this, but you really do need to learn the stuff. You got to know your fundamentals. AI is great at teaching, but it does not take over the thinking work or the learning work, and it's really important that you learn how to do that stuff. So the plan for this is don't try to outrun AI, but learn how to work with it. And this is the direction that knowledge work is headed anyways, so it's important to hop on that bandwagon. All right, with that out of the way, let's start with education. Unfortunately, for knowledge work, a 4-year degree is basically an unspoken requirement in 2025. Where it's from doesn't really matter all that much, but what does matter is what that degree is in, and it matters that you have one. I know, it sucks, and from a value proposition standpoint, a bachelor's degree has really just been getting worse for a while, and that's not new to anybody. But if tech careers are a nightclub, you're not getting past the bouncer without it. And look, boot camps and self-teaching were a hack back in the 2010s, but since 2022, it's become a 1 in a million task. If you're going to take that route, you really need to seriously build something. And I'm talking like a real product, an app or a tool or a business. Something that you can show to a lot of people and something that people will be interested in. Because if you're self-taught and you're not building stuff, you're really just another person who watched a YouTube tutorial and copied a to-do list app. And that kind of thing just doesn't cut it anymore. If you watched my previous video about college, you're not going to be surprised to hear that I absolutely think that college is the way to go in this specific circumstance. There are more affordable ways to get into this, but if this is the path you really want to take, I think this is going to be the easiest way to do it. And plus, the best way to wait out a terrible job market is to go to college or to grad school anyways. So for the rest of the video, I'm going to assume that this is where you're coming from. Massive respect to all the self-teachers and boot campers out there. But I really don't have any practical experience for that, and that's kind of where my advice ends. So once your education is settled, you're going to be moving on to side projects. These are still going to be your best bet for experience, especially when you're early in your career. And like I said, it doesn't need to be perfect or profitable, it just needs to be real. Solve a problem that you actually have. Make a tool for your hobby or try to automate a boring task in your current job. Another great approach is to look at products that you're using currently in your day-to-day that you might not be totally satisfied with. If your workout app just doesn't do exactly what you want it to do, or if your budget app is too expensive, those are great things to, think about and try to remake better on your own. These kind of projects show a lot of initiative and curiosity and the ability to finish something, which, side note, is pretty rare for some reason. I feel like everybody's GitHub account has 1 or 2 of those projects that just never got off the ground or are just wasting away, and, my GitHub is no exception. Also, a pro tip is to document all of your projects. Step 1 is obviously create a README in your GitHub repos, and that's fine. Big bonus points if you write about what you learned. That could be in a blog post or a Twitter post or a YouTube video, somewhere. You'd be surprised at how often that gets noticed and who notices those things. Now for the fun part, which is actually getting that first job. By the numbers, your first tech job is probably not going to be at Google or Meta or OpenAI or anything like that. There are a lot of early career professionals, and these companies just don't hire that many new employees every year, at least relative to the market. The way the current market is going, it's probably not even going to be at a legacy Fortune 500 company. Most likely, your first job is probably going to be something smaller. Maybe that's a local landscaping company that needs help with their website, or maybe that's an in-market startup that nobody's ever heard of that still uses spreadsheets to track their data. And in all honesty, this is fine. This is where most professionals start their careers in most fields. This is certainly where I started my career. These companies are going to be more isolated from market uncertainty because they're probably not publicly traded. And there's going to be less reliance on VC funding. That means they're going to be the ones with the most opportunities, even if it doesn't really feel like that. You just got to know where to look for them. There are a lot of state organizations, nonprofits, and minor job board services that focus on these very small and local companies. You're going to need to do some digging in your area to look for these kinds of services, but I promise you they are out there, and this is where you're going to want to look for your first job. The opportunity's there, and the competition is not there. The competition is going to be on Indeed and LinkedIn and all of the legacy job boards that you've heard of, where these smaller services are going to be the place where a real person is reviewing your resume and your profile. At these kinds of jobs, you're going to get tons and tons of hands-on experience. You're going to learn how businesses actually run on the ground. And hopefully you'll be able to use AI to automate stuff or streamline work, and you'll really make an impact here. These small companies really do let you punch above your weight, so I recommend that you use that. Once you have that first job, things just get a whole lot easier in terms of building your career. Once you do have that first job and you're thinking of upskilling or switching careers, post-secondary education still has a place, in my opinion. For the most part, this is going to be for a part-time master's degree and huge bonus points if your current employer will pay for it. Certifications and online learning still have a place, but for the most part, it's just going to be for your own learning. What I found is that in 2025, companies don't really care about the certificates anymore, but they are pretty useful in terms of your own learning, and they're time and money efficient too. Now, keep in mind, don't go crazy with the certificates and the online learning milestone stuff. You really don't need like 6 AWS certificates and Udemy badges to prove that you know something, Instead, if you do go and get those certs, show what you did with it and build something with them. Now comes what everybody hates, and that is networking. I know, it stinks, but it is probably the most important part. You've definitely heard the phrase by now. It's not what you know, but it's who you know, and unfortunately, it's pretty true nowadays. The good news is that you don't have to be fake on LinkedIn to do networking well. And I implore you, please don't add to the cringe posting on LinkedIn. It does not lead to anything. You do not need to do it. Just be findable and be helpful. Comment on posts, join communities elsewhere on social media, on Twitch or on Discord. Go to meetups and hackathons and virtual events. Message people working in the roles that you want to get to next, and then ask smart questions. Even just building in public, like posting your projects on Twitter or Blue Sky or LinkedIn or whatever, it really gets you on people's radar. Because nobody cares about a stranger with no face and no projects and a profile that just says aspiring software engineer. There's millions of those people now, and you got to be real and visible and someone that they can learn and care about. And lastly, you really just got to wait it out. I've talked about it before, but this job market really just sucks. Companies are afraid of market and government policy uncertainty, and they're not investing anything in new projects or new hiring. Consultants, government agencies, and contractors are even worse here. And with all the layoffs, the market is flooded with talent, and outsourcing is going nowhere. Things just look bleak. But things won't be bleak forever. Things change, law of entropy and all. And when things change, I want you to be as prepared as possible so that you can capitalize. Now, you might have noticed as this video has gone on, the focus has really shifted away from AI being the problem to the job market being the problem. And overall, both play a factor in the current job market being bad. But on one hand, you have a revolutionary tool that is changing how everyone works. And on the other hand, you have just the circumstances of the world right now. If anything, this is a really opportune time to build a career in tech because the tools are exponentially improving every single day. So in summary, you got to do the requisite learning. You got to check those boxes, build something that's real and solves a problem. Get your foot in any door that you can. Use AI as a tool. And don't wait around for the perfect opportunity. Just get moving, do something. If you're building something right now, or you have an idea of something that you want to build, drop it in a comment. I'd love to see it. And if this helped you out, drop a like and maybe share it with someone who's stuck in tutorial hell. We're all figuring this out together. Just don't sit still. And thank you for watching.
We've got the oxygen.